afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Summit. So we're just about to start our third session of the day, which is about forging success through the power of partnerships. So we've heard a lot today about the world of manufacturing and 5G and 5G-enabled technologies and how that's delivering real results in this industry. And so, and one of the things that we've talked about is the ecosystem and the partnerships that are required in order to make this happen. So during this session, we're going to focus a little bit more on the details of that. And to start, we have three presentations, and to start, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage our first partnership. We have Mary Shelton Rose from PwC and Marc Overton from BT Business Division X. Welcome to the stage.
It's great to be here. And great to be here with Mary as well. We've been working together now for the last sort of 7 or 8 months. Mm-hmm. And yes. What is BT and PwC doing, and why are we doing it? Well, basically the solutions that our customers are after, the conversations that our customers want to have, needs much more of an ecosystem approach. Yeah, we're BT, we can convene, we've got a great brand, we've got great reputation in the UK in particular, and we're great at connectivity and security. But with PwC and our other partners we're bringing together, we can have those more complete discussions. Mary and I have been working together, looking at customers and go-to-market and understanding their needs and their pain points. Mary, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the question is, why now? Like, why are ecosystems and collaboration so important? And I shared this with Marc earlier, but we just released some research where 46% of telco CEOs do not believe their business will be viable in 10 years. So we have 10 years or less to really change things. So I think with the complexity and the diversity of thought needed, the complexity of issues we're facing, we really need an ecosystem to solve for the types of challenges we have today.
And what our customers are looking for is help. It's business issues, it's business outcomes, it's not just answering an RFP for a product. It's the advice, the expertise, the insight, the global perspective, the industry perspective that we can bring. So if you look at the stack, and this is not an architecture diagram on the left-hand side, but it all starts with the sensors, the device, the connectivity. We build up on that, and we offer the more complete solution. But that's not the right way to do it. Actually, the conversation should take place at the top. The strategic discussion, what's the business issue, what's the pain point? PwC has that discussion. PwC works with CEOs and COOs. BT invariably works with procurement and the CTO, once the requirements have been locked down. So that we struggle, as an operator, to have those bigger conversations about what it is your business is trying to do and what the issues are. And that's where PwC can come in. What we've created is an ecosystem that covers off all these areas, these functional areas, within the convening power and framework that BT can put together as a partner advisory board. And that is really compelling to a CIO, a CTO, and a CEO who are getting lots of messages. You go around this place, and everyone is doing 5G private networks. Everyone's doing IoT. Everyone's doing solutions. But the reality is, it's an ecosystem approach. And so providing some coherence and clarity to those enterprises is really powerful. Mary.
Yeah, we have a lot of technologists here, and I think it's a really exciting time to be a technologist. I think we're at a tipping point. I think when you look at the problems that all of our clients, customers are trying to solve for, you used to kind of start with the business, and the business would say, what is the issue I'm trying to solve? And then they go to IT and say, build something like that works with this. I think with what we can now solve for with 5G, with IoT, with other emerging technologies, you can really reach into the business and solve problems that were never before possible. And so I think it's such an exciting to be part of the technology community because of the impact and leading with what technology can now do that's possible when you put it with the data. I think when you look at sort of what you've set forth here, Marc, like we know we have to start with the end customer in mind. What is that use case? What is the solution? We need strategy, we need research, we need deep industry expertise, we need operations, we need technology, We need that customer, that client, and what their real life problem is. We need to solve it, and then we need to solve it again. Like, we need to iterate around it and co-solution it. That's a very different world than what each of the players in the ecosystem would play on their own. So I think that is the power of what we're putting together here.
So it's not just PwC and BT. We've got Atos, we've got Ericsson, and we've got Microsoft. So elements right across that value chain. And we'll bring in others to complement it and really focusing on that vertical industry expertise, that knowledge, that insight, the end-to-end perspective, different procurement contacts, different strategy contacts, different C-level contacts. So for us, this is not just about sharing capabilities. It's about joint go-to-market. It's about connecting each of us into those bigger conversations. You know, who would not buy a solution from BT, PwC, and Ericsson? You know, that's a pretty impressive bunch of people who are coming together, yeah? And in a time when there's so much confusion, so much uncertainty, you know, liquidity challenges, real pinch points on where to invest, you know, coming together as a close ecosystem where we can offer more complete solutions, trust and at scale, is really, really powerful. And we're starting to see in certain segments that are more advanced in digital transformation, especially around 5G private networks, that this ecosystem approach is really refreshing. It's not about BT trying to say we can do everything. It's being inherently honest. What do? We do connectivity and we do security. We are like a solution sandwich, two ends of a bookcase. And in the middle, you have those applications like condition-based monitoring, sustainability, productivity, asset tracking. And then you have the vertical solutions within that. Why do we do that ourselves? That's not our core competence. Our core competence is to enable the connectivity and the security and work with partners to bring those more complete solutions to life.
So I think we probably both acknowledge, Marc, you're all looking at this. It's not easy, right? This is challenging, but it's necessary. And for those of you who watched some of the award shows recently, I heard an actress, and she basically said, look, very famous actress, she said, the director said, just park your ego at the door, come in here, and let's figure out how we can work together to create something that is really great. And I feel like that's what we're doing here. I think it's hard, but I think we can do it. I think we're already doing it.
And what was really interesting, when we first met, it was a little bit of, you know, show us your strategy, we'll show us ours, and show and tell. We're now actually into working together into target markets, target verticals. And the one thing that we're also looking to strengthen with the board, and it was Mary's idea, is to get an academic in, give it some academic rigor, to actually build out that sort of capability set. So no, super exciting, and it's a thing. It's a living, breathing thing. We have a board meeting every couple of months. We're meeting here in Barcelona. We're talking to end customers. We're going into segments together. We're leveraging each other's power and economies of scale. So it is working.
So might be helpful for the audience to bring to life an example of where our teams have worked together. What do you think?
That'd be great. Yeah, go on, Mary.
All right. So let me just talk about an example, and this one is actually in the health industry, but a lot of analogies to manufacturing. So we brought 60 clinicians in a room and said, let's identify the end-to-end pain points across a fully connected healthcare system. We came up with 150, I think, problems. We narrowed it down onto 3 use cases. I think the one that sort of got the most excitement from the team was around patient pathway. The way we did this is we brought these people into a working session. We had doctors walking through and helping, and we did what we call a B, an X, and a T part of it. So we focused on the business, or in their case, healthcare. Like, what did it mean? Bringing really, really deep industry expertise of people that live and work in this environment every day. We focused on the experience, their experience as practitioners, the experience of everyone in the ecosystem, including patients, which would resonate with all of us. And then we focused on what is the enabling technology that we needed to make it work. And then we created a pilot, and then we took it out and we tested it, and then we're reiterating on that and co-solutioning with an end customer to really bring it to life. I was sharing with Marc, I had a mother who was a nurse for 40 years, and what she would not have given to have a technology solution that just allowed her to spend time with patients doing what only a human could do and have technology do the rest. She would have loved this.
I mean, I remember in the first board meeting we had, I said to PwC, I don't want to pay for PowerPoint. You know, you guys generate lots of really exquisite PowerPoint. We're not on that page. The digital maturity assessments, the ability to start talking to the strategy lead, the CEO, the COO, about what the pain points are in their business, how to reprocess and re-engineer their business to be more efficient and competitive. These are conversations that we just don't have with BT. Yeah, as I said before, we're back in the product space. We're about answering an RFP. And to see this process that we've gone through together with the NHS has unlocked huge potential. It's given the clinicians an opportunity to really input, you know, and be heard and trusted. But actually, it's really accelerated our thinking around the niche solutions that are required in that vertical. And the expertise that PwC have brought to that discussion, the wider digital expertise, but also the sector expertise in the health market, has been a real force multiplier. And, you know, that's stuff that telcos shouldn't be getting after. The problem if we go too deep as a telco into vertical solutions, the total addressable market and the investment you need to get after that addressable market is just disproportionate. So the return on investment isn't there. We're working with a company like PwC that has vertical focused markets and expertise. So leveraging that channel and that expertise with our core capability and our brand and our customer relationships is just a winning combination.
I think you bring up a really important point there, Marc, and it's we're working against a little bit the DNA, like the historical DNA. When you look at that sort of stack of all those different players in our ecosystem, we all have a DNA of how we work. And so to sort of break down those barriers, come together, lead with an industry problem, and solve around it, it's a lot of fun, and it's frankly what we need to be doing.
So I had the lawyers and the regulators all over me when I got 4 partners in a room plus BT talking. They thought it was some sort of industry sort of fixing exercise. This is a new way of operating. We do have at the start of each meeting a big sort of list of legalese that says we're not allowed to share things that are commercially sensitive. But actually, this is exactly what businesses are looking for from a company like BT and PwC. More complete solutions, unfiltered, unbiased expertise. Not sort of, I can do that. Actually, no, this is our core competency. This is what we do. This is what you do. And together, you're getting the best of both. So yeah, really, I think this is the future.
I do too. I think it might be helpful just to highlight a couple points about what we see across industries of companies who are getting this right. And I'd call out 3 or 4 things. I mean, the first thing is you actually have to invest. That sounds obvious, but the research would tell you there's a real tipping point when you invest sufficiently into how you get to the ROI. The other thing is to treat it like a VC environment. I mean, this really has to be a venture capital world that you're operating in where you can fast fail, where you can be agile, always anchoring it in a use case and driving into what that really means. Building a pilot, your proof points, your MVP, doing the pilot, iterating with that end customer, getting enough at the center, but then pushing that innovation to the edge. I think that's a really important part in how companies are doing it. So it does go against the DNA sometimes of big organizations, but this is how it works and works well. The other thing that is interesting and challenging but important is you're building the trust with your consumers in this end solution. And so to do that, you really need a different sales force. You need different sales competencies around that. But thinking about how you develop that trust in the solution, a big part of it is co-solutioning, but then you're going to take it at scale. So I think the sales side is really quite interesting too.
And what's really interesting, we're talking to different people, but also the conversations are really around addressing those pain points. So they're sort of more fluid, and it's we have a real opportunity to shape them before they get into any sort of procurement process. But as part of that discussion, it's business casing. It's actually working out the return on investment. That's a set of skills that actually sit better in PwC than they do in BT. You know, we sell rate card, we sell products, we sell basic solutions. And we don't do great PowerPoint. You know, having return on investment models, understanding of how to better monetize assets and what have you, having that level of business casing and intelligence is also massively powerful. So together, I think it's a really great sort of partnering, but it's also bringing in others, to support the cloud business, the applications, the infrastructure piece, the device piece, so that the CIO, the CTO, the CEO has a group of companies that they can trust that are slightly better coordinated than if they were separate. And I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll see more ecosystem partners with others. Just since we're in a manufacturing environment, I thought as we close, one really useful statistic for you that sort of underscores this research was just released in January, about a month ago. And you can see the investment of where manufacturing companies are going to prioritize their investments moving forward. And actually, it is around product innovation, but at the end of the day, it's productivity and being able to actually fill the orders with a chronic labor shortage that is really driving innovation across manufacturing. So we're excited about the potential of ecosystems, and just want to say thank you for your time.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you so much to Marc and Mary for that great kickoff in this session, talking about how to really harness the ecosystem and bring out that expertise. So thank you for that. Okay. Oh, let me sing that. Thank you. Okay. So, welcoming to the stage is our next partnership. Thank you. We have Accenture and Mars Wrigley. So over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome. In this section, we're going to talk about how Accenture and Mars Wrigley are working together on scaling digital twin technologies for the factory of the future. We're working together to go beyond using digital twin for operational efficiency and really using it as a framework with how we co-innovate, how we create more collaborative and intuitive solutions across the factory of the future. My name is Teresa Tung, and I'm Accenture Cloud First Chief Technologist, where I look at innovation powered by cloud technologies. I'm thrilled to be joined by Gregg, who's our Director of Global Digital Plan. Scott, let's kick this off, and maybe you could just start by giving an introduction of what is the vision for Factory of the Future at Mars.
Sure, thanks, Teresa. When I think about the Factory of the Future for Mars, it's in three areas. And the first area is about being smart. And being smart is about using data and analytics, machine learning, AI, digital twins in order to drive a completely different way of manufacturing within our plants. The second piece is around being seamless. So being seamless with the end-to-end supply chain. And then the third area is really about touchless. How do you remove touching the product throughout the course of building something and leveraging AI or robots, cobots, and AGVs in order to do that?
And so that's a great vision, and you see how technology underpins pretty much all of that vision, right? So technology is driving that breakthrough innovation. And so this technology is really captured within the digital twin, and we look at three mega technology trends. The first being the cloud continuum, that ability to extend cloud and the ability to program our digital environments all the way to the factory, to be able to program the factory. Second, artificial intelligence, AI, the ability to monitor all the data at scale and look for patterns that a human couldn't do. And then finally, the metaverse. Metaverse being the digital representation of the physical system, right? So the 3D models, the physics models, engineering simulation models that all come together so that we can do a what-if simulation in digital before we do anything in physical. So as I list these technology breakthroughs, Scott, how do you identify these breakthrough innovations and figure out what works?
So deploying a digital twin is hard. Typically, our organization is not set up in order to facilitate the cross between IT, OT, manufacturing, engineering, et cetera. So you've got a lot of organizational challenges, and it's a difficult process. I also think about senior leader engagement. So it's very important to make sure that the senior leaders within your organizations are bought into why and how a digital twin can help them. Defining value, so be very clear up front. What's the value? Is it about increasing capacity? Is it about driving up OEE? The value aspect is extremely important. And then, of course, a partnership. So the partnership with an Accenture, or pick a partner that can help you scale and deliver and bring knowledge that you don't have internally in order to move quickly. Within Mars, we've got pockets of data science teams. However, partnering with a company like Accenture really gives us that ability to move with speed and make things happen very fast. The last 2 points I want to make is be sure to involve your cybersecurity, because data protection is extremely important. How you collect it from the plant floor and send it to the cloud in order to do the AI and machine learning. And then finally, don't be afraid to fail. There's definitely a few failures along the way, but we've learned from those, and it's helped us become stronger.
And we've also really enjoyed the partnership, and I feel like we have very complementary skills needed for Factory of the Future. Mars, clearly with the operational and manufacturing know-how about your business, and Accenture, we're bringing to bear the experience that we have in technologies that are cross-industries. An example of something we're bringing to bear for the factory is a domain knowledge graph. So this is a technology you see every time you do a web search that serves back exactly the information you need. It's in these little cards. And we're enabling our plant operators to be able to not need to dig through all the data, but really serving back exactly the data that you're needing. So these are, again, technologies that work at internet scale in this case, and now applying it within the factory. So I've been showing a lot of pictures of Skittles, and that's part of why, that was our very first use case using digital twins. So Scott, could you bring to life that first use case with Skittles?
Sure. So we wanted to change a reactive process into a proactive process. And within the Skittles packaging area, an operator running the machine would, a couple times an hour, take a bag off the line, measure it, make sure that we were staying within tolerance of what we were delivered to the customer and consumer. What we did with the digital twin is we actually turned that process into an automated process by putting IoT sensors on the Ashita scales, the check weighers, and taking measurements of every single bag versus a couple bags per hour. By doing that, we turned it into a proactive process where you're now getting data on everything that's coming off the line. You're using the power of the twin in order to predict when you need to make adjustments for either bags going overweight or going underweight. So you now turned a process where an operator had to manually weigh bags to a system that now is telling you in 30 minutes you're trending overweight and you need to make adjustments now before they ever happen. So it's been a really interesting use case and proven to be quite valuable to Mars.
And that really brings to life that partnership. So the ability to now connect the IT and the OT is really working together. The ability to develop some of these new AI models is that new data science capability that we're going to also hand over to Mars. It's the ability to now extend to the edge onto the factory floor and then to build into more automation, more robotics and use cases. So it's really this pattern that's using the digital twin, starting with the Skittles use case to build in some of the capability, but with each subsequent use case, we're building not just new operational efficiency, like with chocolate production and other cases, but with that core capability of the digital twin foundation, right? So when we think about the twin, there's also an approach that we're using to really measure the value of the twin. So beyond the technology, Scott, can you maybe share a little bit about this MVP approach?
Sure. So it all starts with the origination of the idea. And that could come from R&D, it could come from engineering, it could come from a site director who's experiencing problems in his manufacturing site. But that core origination of idea that then gets filtered into the MVP process. So with partnership from Accenture, we go into the site, we do a deep dive, understand what the problem is, really understand the data that the site has, and devise whether or not a digital twin can actually solve the problem. Once we're able to understand that it is a proper use case in order to help solve whatever the issue is, it's then about deploying a pilot or an MVP to that initial site, making sure along the way to understand where the value is when you decide to scale it later. So after you prove that the solution actually works, now you can start to look at other factories that produce similar products and leverage that technology across. So it's really about first identifying, making sure that the twin can solve it and produce value, then how do you scale it and produce that value at other sites. So it's a nice approach that we've devised with you guys, and I think it's proven to be quite successful thus far.
I think so too, and we're really working as one integrated team again. And so that integration is really important for the speed. So pretty much because we have some of the data in that base twin, we're able to give a pretty good guess ahead of time with the combination of the twin, your know-how, our know-how in technology as to this is likely going to work or not. So that initial POC, if you will, we should know at the end of that whether this is going to scale and all the other places it could be adapted. So again, it really de-risks that innovation process and puts quite a structure around it using the digital twin. So one key feature about the rolling this out is the buy-in from the factory operator. So a lot of the success hinges on their ability to apply and trust the results from the twin. Could you maybe talk a little bit about that importance of that human in the loop?
Sure. So in our manufacturing process, we've got operators that have been doing the same job for 20, 30 years, and they know their machine like the back of their hand. So when we took the approach, it was about using user centricity and really understanding what is the pain point for the operator. What do they do that's inefficient in how they are doing their job today? But also leveraging their knowledge and expertise. So as we look to the operator on how they do their job, we're also building in the ability for a feedback loop from the operator into the twin in order to improve the model. So it not only gave a lot of engagement with the operator of, hey, I'm taking my knowledge and I'm putting it into this solution. There's a sense of ownership, a sense of pride, which really helped with the engagement. So it was really important for us to make sure that the user was involved from the beginning, and we were actually solving a problem that would help them, not just something that we wanted to do because it was cool technology.
And that was a really important part of the twin. It's that collaboration with the OT. So could you maybe expand upon that a bit more? So it's not just the OT and the IT, it's the business as well. How important is it to get the buy-in across the organization?
It's extremely important, and when I think about Mars and the way we're structured today, you've got a lot of different silos. You've got the IT, you've got OT, engineering, all these different areas. So blurring those lines with digital and with digital twin has been challenging but rewarding. It's something that we've never done before, and it's something that we need to do in order to remain competitive in the future. So building that trust between those different silos and blurring those lines has been extremely important in us achieving success. The other thing I'd like to comment on is change management. Change management is extremely important, and it's not only managing the change to your operators and what's expected of them, but also of site directors, senior leaders, on what they can expect within the manufacturing process in the future. And I think what it's done is it's moved us from, I'll say, pushing these tools to site directors and others to actually generating a pull for it. And most recently, I was just at our Waco facility in Texas, and it was driven by the site director asking us to come there. So we've gone from a small pilot with Skittles to now a site director saying, hey, I need to become more efficient in the way I manufacture. I want you to come and tell me how to do that. So we did a week-long deep dive session with Accenture in order to pull those nuggets out and understand how we can help that specific site. So it's really shifted the momentum from being a, hey, try this out, it's kind of cool and it can help you, to, hey, I want that and this is something I want in my business and my manufacturing site.
Well, thank you for sharing. So we've gone from starting as small as Skittles as our first use case to be able to really work out how we work together, this joint Accenture Mars team. And then also the Mars team internally, how you work with your factory operators, moving from a push to a pull, how you work across your business, IT, OT, and the business. So really wanted to thank you, Scott, for sharing that story of how we're working together. And for those of you who are interested in learning more, we have a podcast. You can click through to this QR code. We have this podcast coming out later this week that goes into a little bit more detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you so much, Teresa and Scott. That was really insightful. Thank you very much. A great insight into digital twin, which we will be covering in the following session. So if digital twin, industrial metaverse is of interest, please stick around for that. But before you all run out to go and buy Skittles, I'd like to introduce our final speakers for this session on the power of partnerships. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Jane Rygaard from Nokia and Faouzi Grebici from Omron. So welcome.
We'll hand over to the guy in charge. Thank you. So talking about partnerships, I think that the key part here, then when we talk about also in the manufacturing side, what is the power of partnerships? What is the collaborative advantage that we can get for being together? We heard earlier that there's an option to working together on different levels, and what we would like to share is where is it really that things starts? And for Omron and for Nokia together, our journey started on delivering this collaborative advantage by looking at, are we actually a fit? You know, it's always nice to standing up here and talk about what we need to do as partners, but we know that it doesn't work unless when we sit down, that we actually have the same visions and the same way of working for getting it done. And for Nokia and for Omron, a key part of that is, from a Nokia perspective, our core competence and what we would like to do is we're talking about how we create the technology that helps the world act together. But at the same time, that is not enough, because what do we, you know, our technology on its own has to be used for something. And this is where we have a very, very strong relationship, I would say, when we go out as an industry and find the right partners out there to deliver this. So from an Omron perspective, as you can see, what is the machine, the work of, working of the machine, and then also what is the thrill that we get of doing the creation of it. And for us, a key component of our partnership has been that these two culture is a very, very good fit of finding the right solutions forward. And it has been key for what we want to show you, that and I think we concluded on the last presentations, that maybe it's not the factory of the future, maybe it's just the factory of tomorrow. So with that, let's share a little bit on that journey that we also been on together and where it is that our competence and partnerships fits.
Thank you, Jane. So, again, it is very important when you talk about partnership, is not because we love each other, because to start with, we need each other.
Love a little bit. Come on, a little bit of love.
There is a little bit of love, but still we need each other, because you need us to work together. So let's start first with a very simple thing. And you say, where are the market forces, that are forcing us again to work together? So in manufacturing, talk about, I think some of the people below spoke about really the marketplace. So there are market forces, and these market forces are shaped by, the fact that we are moving from mass to targeted to personalized, meaning that there are very, very few factories today who are dreaming about, having zillions of making the same product. It's very important today to understand that, the challenge with factories that have been built 40, 50 years ago, they have to really cater and to face today's business that is, high mix and quite very small volume. So there are operational impact, and I go very quickly here, and human and regulatory impact. Not only today's factories have to produce and to be effective, but also more and more there are stringent rules and regulation. So here we talk about, going from high mix, low volume, the fact that 80% of the factories, I would say 90% are obsolete, et cetera, and from the human and regulatory impact, of course, ESG, shortage of workers, and the need for traceability. Today, I think there are 2 or 3% of the factories that are called smart factories or factories of the future. 90% of the factories that I visited are still mostly operating in silos. Again, they can be digital silos, but still silos. And all these interfaces we have now in terms of connectivities are probably still manual. So the idea really is to, to talk about people, process, and plant, and really all these game changers and game enablers that we are talking today, system integration, machine automation, vision, robotics, etc., cybersecurities, are having, to enable, this integration. Okay.
So maybe to say that, how do we then achieve this? So I know that earlier today on this stage there was also a discussion on what is the technology behind it. Now, any of the things that we want to do, and we are at Mobile World Congress, right? So we need to talk a little bit on technology. But there are some game changers out there to achieve these changes and the rethinking of what we do of manufacturing. And the first part where we say that there's basically game changers is when we talk about the robotics. So Omron, you have a lot of experience and bringing a lot to the table on saying what is the collaborative, what is the mobile robotics that we have out there, and how do we change not only the past but also think forward on these parts. So that definitely has an impact on how we see manufacturing. At the same time, again, we can talk about AI IoT, and we can talk about industrial IoT, but we can also talk about how do we take the next steps of having edge and having AI to actually be part of this. So we have a lot of data, and we heard before that you need to be able to use it the right way to find how can it be more efficient, what is my productivity, how do I get to a personalization of my manufacturing side. But we need to be able to, you could say there's new opportunities to use this the right way. And that comes also with this whole automation piece. If we have the data, we can automate in a different way today and tomorrow than we could yesterday. Then we had a little bit of debate on the virtual twin. One too early, just to go back. So on the virtual twin, or a digital twin, and when we prepared for this, we had a little bit of discussion of saying, is the virtual twin, or is it a digital twin? The digital twin is actually giving you a you're missing a dimension type of thing when you talk about it. So we concluded we actually, and I know we're breaking a little bit on the buzzwords around the floor here, but we want to talk about virtual twins instead, so that we get to the next part. How do we also have this immersive technology around us that we use it? We cannot do these game changers unless we also have some game enablers. And this is again where we see the partnership is very, very fundamental, that the ones producing the game changers might not be the same one that doing the enablers. And from an Omron Nokia perspective, this is definitely where we've seen that there's very good collaboration happening. So from our side, we talk a lot about cloud computing. How do we have the right clouds, the right places with the right fundamental characteristics of the clouds? We talk about the augmented reality, so the extension of how can we get the physical and digital world closer. Cybersecurity, you mentioned it. I think it was mentioned before as well. It's not only data protecting, but it's also the network protection. If we start having networks that needs to be used for control systems, you have to be able to trust them in a completely different manner, also from the outside in. And then, of course, the technology pure of AI, ML, and understanding where is the right place to put it, for what, and in what is the algorithms part of it. And then fundamental for Nokia is, of course, we would like to make sure that all of this is happening on a mobile network, because it gives us a flexibility back to the collaborative and mobile robotics. And with this, we will say that this is not the factory of the future, but the factory of tomorrow, because Omron, you've done it.
Yeah, basically it's the factory of tomorrow made with technology of today. So 5 years ago, we were really looking at, this is what we want. No factory was running like that, no process was running like that. And of course, really here, we wanted to explore different possibilities. You see that the machines are completely decoupled. There is no big lines. You can also create a machine as, you can create a cell if it's needed. We are talking about here not scale up, but scale out. We're talking about getting rid of the conveyor system and having mobile robots. And you see also very important that the people that are working there should be empowered by automation, not slaved to automation. This is at least our, our simple and basic approach. So, you would say, okay, fantastic, very good. I hope that, but is it real? But I said 5 years ago we had that vision. Today we have factories working with that vision. So this is not far away from here, it's in Spain. And this is basically an equipment manufacturer, Autolim, where really they have applied, this vision we have outlined. And now, of course, as Jane said, this is not about just pure performance and robotization. This is also about networking and connectivity, which is a real enabler. For us, when we talk to Nokia, or Nokia talk to us, I don't know, we know each other for some time, and we share, again, the same values. When they spoke about 5G, we asked them, are we talking about millisecond? They said yes. Then yes, we can do a lot of things. So this is opening a lot of things. We are manufacturers, we are real time, so we talk about milliseconds. Sorry, this is what is happening. And this is, you see here, there are no people, and it's true. The people are not transferring, they're not transporting, they're not really using muscle force. The people are supervisors, which for us, again, if I add a small stupid slogan, because I'm not a friend of slogan, is really turning operators into creators.
So then the part is to say we started the journey, and you can hear we've been working on this one for quite a while, because it is 5 years ago. We were just again joking a little bit on saying if we were probably a bit too earlier. But we're here today, and we're taking that journey. And with that journey, it has been a partnership around not only the technology, but I would say how do we build. We've been doing an amazing, from a Nokia perspective, 5G technology, where we've been looking at things like millimeter wave, on saying how do we do that forward. But I also at the same time learning, because we bring something very, very different to each other. And these parts is that we see that this journey definitely continues. And it continues because, well, one of the biggest buzzwords we have today here is about metaverses. But metaverses, and I literally say verses because there's more than one. And I'm not talking about the consumer one that we normally hear about in the media, but in this case, we see that this is about an industrial metaverse, because it's an evolution from where we are today, where we have, yes, we have VR glasses, we can do things, we have augmented reality, we have even haptic-enabled control systems for what there is, and we do see that we start seeing the first factories of tomorrow. But we do see that this will evolve, and will evolve with technology, but also very much dependent on partnerships, because we only need to evolve what we have to actually get a benefit out of. And we see that the next steps of this is how do we merge this physical and the digital world even more of what there is. We need to talk about sensing, we need to talk about acting for what there is, and we need to be able to have interoperability between all of this. I think you said earlier that the factories, with 80% of them already out there, well, we have a lot of equipment that is already on the floor that needs to be used in new ways. So with this, we see that our journey together has started. It's been going on. We see that things are real, but we also see we still have partnerships to collaborate on, because we need to get to this industrial metaverse. We need to be able to get to a part where we not just talk about IoT and big data and AI, but we see the combination of it. And with that, we are merging the technology that we have very much in Mobile World Congress, the industry expertise that exists, which probably is not always here, maybe this year better than it was 5 years ago, but definitely also what is the business that we then have together on this one. So with this, I don't know, closing word from you, Faouzi, it's...
Love.
Love, love. That's good.
Thank you
with
very
that,
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.